welcome to the Man-Child, Woman-Child podcast. I'm Marlon Sterling, joined by my co-host, Tom Markey.
Hey everyone. Today's episode is quite special as we're diving into self-love and the influences society has on it.
Joining us today are our guests, the insightful Terry Rothman and Mario Anderson.
That's right, and don't forget about Cassell Marley and Hank Tobin. They'll be sharing their unique perspectives with us.
Hey, excited to be here and delve into these topics with you all.
Looking forward to breaking down the complexities of self-love and how society molds us.
I think what's fascinating is how early these societal influences start shaping us, even before we understand who we are.
Absolutely, Mario. It's a journey of discovering oneself amidst these external pressures.
It's like we're all born into a system that defines our role. Yet what we're discussing today is how to find self-love within that.
Yeah, and society tends to push us into boxes, the male and female ones, without a manual on how to truly love ourselves.
That's such an important point. We need more conversations around self-reliance and positivity.
And parental influence can't be overstated. We're shaping the next generation, whether we realize it or not.
For real, it's a cycle we need to break to foster healthier individuals.
True, and accepting that we might have our own dysfunction is key to changing that cycle.
Exactly, Terry. We're not just discussing problems, but aiming to propose solutions and a way forward.
Stay tuned as we continue exploring these themes. There's more to unpack in the upcoming...
All right, diving right in. Let's explore this fascinating concept of man-child, woman-child.
Yeah, it's intriguing. Born on the same day, but their experiences vastly different from the get-go.
Exactly. It's as if they're both handed a script the moment they're born, but with different roles entirely.
Males are pushed towards being strong and stoic, while females are expected to be nurturing and gentle.
And all of this happens before they even get a chance to figure out who they are independently.
The societal script, right? It's written long before we even have a say or a chance to edit it.
Spot on. It's like they are wired into a system that runs on predefined instructions.
You know, just like these two kids walking down different paths despite starting together.
Isn't it wild? Society dictates the narrative of one's life before they even have a chance to pick a pen.
Precisely. And neither path talks about self-love or individuality, just conformity.
Which ties back to how society creates norms and standards that everyone is expected to follow.
And if you try to step outside those norms, it's frowned upon or even discouraged.
True, those who love themselves enough to defy societal norms often face resistance from these structures.
It's like these elements, family, religion, politics, they all converge to create this web we must navigate.
A web that doesn't include a focus on self-love or self-reliance.
Exactly, Tom. As if we are conditioned to believe success lies in compliance, not self-understanding.
When we talk about the market elements, it's like a web that entangles each of us right from the start.
Exactly, Terry. And each aspect, religion, politics, social norms, they each play their own tune.
You know, what's interesting is how these elements shape not just our identity, but our capacity to love ourselves.
Right, Marlon. It's like they establish a framework, but they often leave out nurturing self-love and individuality.
Religion, for instance, often defines morality and identity. It provides guidelines but can restrict self-discovery.
Family politics add another layer. Often, family beliefs are passed down, coloring our perceptions and choices.
And then you have social norms outlining what's considered acceptable, boxing individuals into categories.
We can see how these elements support each other, religion backing politics, politics framing social norm.
Yet they don't talk about self-love openly. They create expectations to conform rather than encouraging self-reliance.
It's a cycle, really. One generation teaches the next without even questioning these constraints.
So in trying to establish identity, many people conform rather than explore who they are individually.
That's the crux. How do we break these chains and teach the importance of self-love and personal growth?
Awareness is key. Understanding these influences opens the door to challenging and changing them.
In essence, it's about creating our own path within or even outside these established norms.
Exactly, Mario. Personal growth needs to include questioning the status quo and building an identity grounded in self-respect.
And connecting back to identity, those children born on the same day, finding themselves amidst all this complexity.
So, Terry, let's dive right into how religion shapes our youth. From your experiences, How does it sometimes overshadow self-reliance?
Religion often comes with a set of beliefs and practices that can be quite prescriptive. While it offers a moral compass, it may also inhibit young people from exploring their own paths.
Interesting point, Terry. Do you think these religious teachings clash with the idea of self-love?
They can. Self-love is about understanding and accepting oneself, which sometimes requires questioning established beliefs. Religion might not always encourage this introspection.
But isn't there value in having a framework provided by religion? It gives a sense of community and belonging, doesn't it?
There's definitely value in community. However, it becomes problematic when those teachings ignore individual growth and self-discovery, essentially turning self-reliance into reliance on the institution.
I'd add that religion can provide stability for some, though it may limit the individual's ability to question or redefine their personal identity.
That's right, Cassell. Society often embraces religion as a means to moral ends, but when does this support blur the line of personal exploration?
The blurring happens when doctrines outweigh personal experiences, when questioning or deviations are not just frowned upon but made to seem like betrayal. That's when we know a balance is off.
And how do these religious influences fit into the broader narrative of self-love we're discussing, Terry?
Self-love should derive from self-awareness and independence. Religions can contribute positively by encouraging compassionate acts, but they need to make space for personal growth and individual perspectives.
Agreed. One man's doctrine shouldn't overshadow another man's journey towards self-discovery and acceptance.
So could this be something that changes with generations as people become more aware of their need for self-love?
Absolutely. As awareness grows, so does the opportunity to redefine how religion is incorporated into a healthy self-concept. We're seeing more dialogues about acceptance and individuality in religious communities.
Exactly, and having this dialogue is what's key to transforming how religion impacts self-reliance and self-love.
Let's take this further into how these influences might transition into other areas like family dynamics. So Terry, tell us how family dynamics and political belief shape one's perspective of self-love.
Well, from my experience, the family is the first environment where values are instilled. If a home endorses open-minded discussion, it allows kids to think for themselves.
But what about families that enforce a strict adherence to their belief?
Those cases can be tricky. If families are rigid, they may unintentionally stifle individuality and self-worth. Kids might grow up learning to conform rather than love themselves for who they are.
In Mario, how does this tie into politics?
Political beliefs often trickle down within family dynamics. If a family fiercely leans towards one ideology, it frames how members view the world. This can shape how young individuals assess their place within the societal structure and their self-esteem.
Is it easy for individuals to break away from such established family political beliefs?
It's challenging but possible. It requires exposure to diverse perspectives and sometimes a conscious decision to redefine one's beliefs.
That's when self-love and understanding really start to flourish, when individuals make choices based on their personal values rather than inherited ones.
Fascinating. So would you say that self-love is a rebellious act in the face of family and political expectations?
Absolutely, Marlon. Embracing self-love often means challenging deep-seated expectations and crafting a unique path.
I guess that leads into the societal expectations we'll cover next.
Exactly. Society's norms can be as influential as family in shaping how we perceive ourselves and others.
Looks like we're about to dive even deeper into that discussion.
So, shifting gears from family dynamics, let's dive into how social norms shape our identities.
Right? And how sometimes they confine us without us even realizing it.
Absolutely. From birth, we're put into these cookie-cutter roles. You're either a boy or a girl, and that's that.
But what happens when someone doesn't fit those predefined roles?
They often face exclusion or misunderstanding, which can deeply impact their self-identity.
And these expectations can subtly dictate our actions, right? Like how we're supposed to dress or behave.
Exactly. It's a script that's hard to escape because it starts so early. It shapes your view of yourself and your worth in society.
So how do we break free from these norms and start defining ourselves without those constraints?
It starts with awareness, questioning why we believe certain things and challenging those beliefs that restrict us.
It's a journey, isn't it? Recognizing that these norms don't have to define us.
Exactly. The more we push back against these roles, the more room we create for authentic self-expression.
which ultimately leads to a healthier self-identity and stronger sense of self-love.
Yes, because when you understand yourself outside of societal expectations, you start to appreciate who you truly are.
And that can be incredibly empowering, breaking the mold to be your true self.
Let's continue this exploration in our next segment, focusing on another crucial influence. So, Hank, you mentioned that parents play a pivotal role in their children's lives. How exactly does that tie into self-love?
Well, Tom, when parents are supportive and nurturing, they create an environment where children can learn to love themselves. It's about showing them they are valued and teaching them they deserve love regardless of external factors.
Right, and what happens when there's systemic negativity in that upbringing?
That's where the dysfunctionality kicks in. If parents themselves have been raised in a negative environment and they carry that forward, it sets a foundation of insecurity and self-doubt in the child.
So it's like a cycle.
Exactly. It's a cycle of negativity that's hard to break, but fostering self-awareness in parents can be a game changer.
Does this imply parents need to work on their issues first?
Yes, Marlon. Often parents must understand their shortcomings and seek growth, because a healthy self-love in themselves reflects positively onto their children.
And society. How does it influence parental behavior?
Society's expectations definitely weigh in, but at the core, parents need to make conscious choices for their children's sake, focusing on love and acceptance rather than societal pressures.
So really, parents are architects of their children's self-perception.
Absolutely. And if they build with love, the framework becomes unshakable, helping children thrive even amid external chaos.
Thanks for those insights, Hank. It's crucial to root these discussions in real-life implications. All right, let's dive into the complexities of singularity. What does it mean to actually stand out in a world that tries to fit us into predefined boxes?
Yeah, and singularity in this context isn't about technology. It's about being that unique individual and embracing self-love without societal chains holding you back.
Too often, society doesn't promote self-discovery. It constrains us. We're told who to be before we even get a chance to ask ourselves who we want to be.
And that's why it's crucial to unravel these societal expectations just to find our true selves amidst all these limitations imposed upon us.
What kind of pressures have you felt, Hank, when you've tried to assert your individuality?
From dress codes at work to expectations in my own family, it's like walking a tightrope. There's always a fear of stepping outside the lines.
But isn't that suppression part of what stunts self-love? If you're constantly told who you should be, how do you ever learn to love who you actually are?
Exactly. That's where the internal conflict starts. We're torn between conforming and the intense need to be authentic.
So, do you agree that this struggle is more intense now, or has it always been this way?
In today's digital world, with social media dictating everything, the pressure is definitely more intense. However, the core struggle has always existed.
And as we delve into how these pressures manifest differently for men and women, it's clear that gender expectations amplify how we experience singularity.
Those doors labeled amare, and females don't just designate gender. They assign a script for us to follow, and deviation from that script is rarely encouraged.
This brings us back to why self-love is often a path veiled by societal narratives. We need to rewrite the script, make it more about us as individuals.
Marlin's right. Society must evolve to celebrate individual stories for what they are, not just how they fit into the greater narrative.
Only then can true self-love flourish, untethered and authentic.
And as we move forward, we'll see how personal experiences have shaped these perspectives on singularity.
Jumping right in, we have some wonderful guests joining us to share their personal stories on the journey to self-love.
Absolutely, and I'm really looking forward to hearing these reflections today.
For me, self-love wasn't something I even considered until I hit a really challenging point in my life. It was like I was living to meet others' expectations and totally ignoring my own needs.
I can relate to that, Cassell. In my case, the realization came a bit later, after years of chasing professional success but feeling empty inside. It took a hard look at the mirror to understand what was missing.
That's powerful, Hank. Cassell, was there a specific moment that sparked your journey?
There was, actually. It was during a period when I was dealing with a significant loss. It forced me to stop and really evaluate where I was heading in life. From there, I started reading more about self-care and mindfulness, practices that have been transformational for me.
It's interesting how sometimes the most difficult times become the catalyst for profound change.
Exactly, Tom. For me, a career setback initially felt like a failure, but it turned into an opportunity to explore self-help and therapy, which led me to understand the importance of valuing my own well-being.
So it's not uncommon for these breakthroughs to be grounded in periods of introspection and challenge.
Yes, introspection was a big part of it. Realizing that self-love is not selfish, but necessary. I started to set boundaries that were unheard of in my life before, but now they are pillars of my routine.
And it's interesting how self-love impacts relationships too, making them more genuine. Once I started appreciating myself, I noticed a shift in the kind of connections I was attracting.
Really goes to show how self-love acts as a foundation for other aspects of life.
Absolutely. Hank and Cassell, your stories highlight the power of positive self-imaging. It's not always an easy path, but definitely a valuable one. Wow, what a conversation has been diving into these intricate layers of self-love and societal influences.
Absolutely, Marlon. It's curious how intertwined these elements are, like pieces of a puzzle that some people never manage to fit together.
Yes, those elements like religion, politics, and social norms truly paint a picture of the challenges we face in fostering self-love.
And yet it's so important to realize that understanding these influences can actually empower us to break free and cultivate that self-reliance and positivity.
Exactly. It really highlights the power of awareness and the role of parents in shaping one's understanding of love and self-worth.
Right, and that's something we'll definitely continue to explore in more depth, considering the impact societal standards have on individual development.
We must not forget the complexity of those standards and how deeply they're ingrained in everyday life situations like those doors labeled male and female.
And how they can limit personal growth if we're not careful.
For future episodes, perhaps we could delve into how breaking away from these norms can lead to more authentic living.
Or even look at real-life examples of folks who have successfully managed to do just that.
It's all about continuing the conversation and sharing insights that can hopefully inspire change.
Definitely. It's been great unpacking all of this today, and I'm eager for what we have planned next.
Let's make sure to carry this momentum forward. Until next time, Tom.
Agreed, Marlon. Onward and upward.